All right, so welcome everyone to our joint health and balance class. So we have some new folks in here today, so welcome. So pretty easy class. We'll start on our feet. We'll do some balance work. We'll do some mobility work, and then if you have a chair nearby, that'd be great. If you have a foam roller or a long pole so we could do some mobility on the shoulders, that'd be great as well. I usually use where is this item? My kids moved it around. So I just have a foam roller, but it could be a broomstick, it could be an umbrella. But that's going to be to do some stretches for our shoulder. But let's go ahead and start. We're going to start with the Romberg stance. So our feet are right next to each other, close here in a little box. And we're just going to be standing here, just being mindful. So yeah, so glad we got some new people. I feel like I'm on my toes today. So you let me know what you like or what you didn't. So yeah, just stand here, be mindful of if your ankles are shaking or if your knees feel a little bit of a tension or aches. But if everything feels great, then you're good to go right now. So, all right, just make sure you're taking nice deep breaths. You weren't in my class yesterday. Yeah, we had a pretty solid workout. Arms are a little tired. So now we're gonna stretch our neck and also throw our balance off a little bit. So we're gonna be looking left to right now. So let's look left, right. And then Jen, if your friends like the class and they wanna enroll, just have them use your address from back home because it's technically just for California residents, but yeah. So you could always join. My sister has joined and she's in Washington, so okay, now up and down. So again, just stretching the neck. And this class is typically every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Go for about an hour 10. So up and down. Okay, so now this is where it gets tricky. We're going to close our eyes. So always, if you are not confident with your balance quite yet, so if you feel like you're going to tip over, open your eyes and separate your feet. Just be mindful again. Maybe you notice there's a little bit more pressure or tension on your big toes or on your heel. Maybe your arches start to ache a little bit. Very good. All right, we're going to work on our arches a little bit. So let's go ahead and then we still remain on the same stance, but what I want you to do is claw your toes towards your heels. So we're working on strengthening our arches and also all the small tendons and muscles on your foot. So we're just clawing. Very good. All right. First, we're going to start with the slow high knee march. Okay. So, slow high knee march. We're right here. And we're just going to drive our knee as high as we can up and then control it. The slower you do it, the better. We don't want to do these too fast. Otherwise, we're not really using our balance. So, go as high as you can. And remember, you could always be next to a wall if you want to feel more confident or have a chair nearby. So yes, we're working on balance here. And if you're able to drive that knee even higher with each repetition, And that muscle, that hip flexor is relaxing a bit. All right, since we're standing, maybe we'll get some of the standing stretches out of the way. So let's just do some trunk rotation. So gently, just rotate your trunk. Pretty nice weather outside. It was just went for a short run, but it was sunny and pretty brisk. I think it was 50 degrees, but it felt nice. We reach up towards the ceiling. Let's push up towards the ceiling. Did anyone go under walks this morning already? Let's see. Jan, okay, Jan and friends, lean right.
I walked 3 miles in my neighborhood.
There you go. What time were you up, Bella?
As soon as it was light out, I guess about 6:30.
Which Debbie got her walk in. All right. Terry, you said you're by 3 hours from Tucson. Are you in New Mexico?
Yeah, I'm in New Mexico.
Okay. Terry has her vacation home in New Mexico. It's a mansion. Let's bring that right arm across. Terry, do you go to White Sands? I've always wanted to go.
I have never been to White Sands.
Oh man, I hear it's.
I
Well, I see
I would
pictures.
love to go, but I've never been.
Yeah, I missed my chance when my friend lived in El Paso, but yeah, I think who knows? I'll have to do some cross country trip to drive through there. Bring your left arm across. So what's the plan, Jan? What are your friends having you do?
Well, I could make a joke, but today we're going to Saguaro National Park in the afternoon.
Oh,
So my friend Joan volunteers there. She's the one who lives here.
oh, okay. That's awesome. Saguaro, you said? Okay.
It's got the silent G in there. SAGU.
Oh, there's a G in there. Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, cool.
I'm trying to use the local pronunciation.
Yeah. That's good with their snow angels.
I went there once in the spring when the cactus were blooming.
Ooh. Do
It
they
was
have
mag-
those
it
big,
was
like,
absolutely magnificent.
oh man, the snow angels right here. So try to feel that stretch from your shoulders all the way to your lower back. Right now, I'm really feeling it right like on my shoulder blades, like behind my underarms. All right, very good. Now this we're gonna do our ab circles. So just a little bit wider stance, kind of hinge at your hips, bend your torso down, keep your torso straight, and we're gonna come across and then pump back and then just repeat. So just hinging at the hip. Let's do one more on each side. All right, big hula hoops. So same stance, but just now bring your hips out and about in an exaggerated motion. So right here, if you're good at hula hoops, then this is your time to shine. Just go out and wide. So my little sister's working in Santa Barbara for 6 months, and I wanted to go visit her and annoy her on her birthday week, which is it would be I was thinking of traveling to her the last day of this class, which is December 10th, switch. Um, her birthday's December 12th, but she says she's gonna be super overwhelmed and busy. So I still want to do something that day or those days. So the only thing I could think of that could work is Legoland Hotel with Julian. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. I think I'll be out in Legoland that week. That's how I'm gonna celebrate the end of the semester, is gonna be by going to Legoland. Oh, that feels great. So let's do a little bit more balance work. Let's go ahead and do our right foot in front of our left. And we're gonna do the same movements or the same exercises as the Romberg stance. So this is a tandem stance. So we have a variation of classes, but every term there's only 2 classes, except in the summer we have 6 classes. So let's look left to right. So typically our Monday class is our more active class. And yesterday we did strength and conditioning, so we're lifting weights and just light dumbbells, whatever equipment you have at home. But on those days we usually burn, I'd say somewhere between 200 to maybe 180 to 250 calories, and then up and down. And then on classes like today, we'd be lucky if we get 100, but we get more of a health rehab day, more stretching, more therapeutic today than an actual workout. But then other terms, we have this class called cardio and core, or total body workout. And on that one, we're closer to 300 calories. So right here, again, we are gonna close our eyes. So close your eyes. If you don't feel safe, separate your feet, but keep that same stance. Close your eyes. So again, just be mindful of your space, your surroundings. Open your eyes. Very good. All right, so I'm just gonna turn a little bit here. So what I'm gonna do is just elevate my back foot about an inch or 2 off the ground. So I'm just on this almost like flamingo stance. So yeah, so I just finished reading my book on joint and health. Bone and joint health, and it mentioned exercises on balance. And one of the things I didn't agree on was it mentioned, and now we're gonna do a slow high knee. Okay, so from back here, we're gonna go into a high knee and then come back. If you need to tap behind you with your toe to just feel safe, you can. But again, just almost like if you're gonna go from a high knee to like a step back lunge. So one of the things that was mentioned was it said don't do balance exercises barefoot. And I think that's I'd say a little controversial there, because it assumes that you have very flat or firm shoes. All right, so reset. So we did our right foot in front of our left. Okay, let's do a couple of more balance exercises. So now we're gonna do our quad stretch. So grab a hold of right above your ankle and pull back. So not your ankle, but right above. So yeah, so let's say you're wearing shoes that are very cushioned. or maybe very old shoes. Those shoes might put you at risk for tipping over or falling. So, so yeah, so just be mindful. Even doing balance stretches on a yoga mat could give you the same effect as like wearing very high cushion shoes. So use your best judgment and always be aware of your surroundings. The last thing you want is to do it near a carpet or that carpet slips. Um, yeah, so just pay attention. Let's switch. You're getting a nice stretch on your quad and also working on your balance. Okay, very good. All right, we're gonna stretch our hamstrings. Okay, so slight bend at your knees, slight bend at the knees, and just slide your hands down your shins. Once you're close to your ankles or as low as you could go, you could try to straighten out your knees. And just hold the stretch there. Take nice deep breath. All right, from here, grab a hold of your ankles and then you're gonna drop your glutes down to your heels and then come back up. We'll do about 10 of these. Two more. Very good. All right. Did we do our left foot in front of our right? I don't think we have yet. So left foot in front of our right. We did our right foot in front of our left. Over here. We'll get once we're done with this routine here, we'll go back to our chair and then just relax a little bit. So again, just right here on this position, just be mindful again. Right, look left to right. And you might notice that maybe one stance might be more challenging over another. Up and down. Whoa, there you go. Right, and then close your eyes. Open your eyes. And then we're just gonna elevate that back foot an inch or two. Ooh, this left ankle is not as stable. So, and be aware if you've had ankle injuries or knee injuries, that specific leg, these might be a little bit more challenging for that side. So let's drive that knee up and back. Very good. All right, let's go ahead and find our chair. My arches are on fire. I don't know about yours. And let's find a chair. Oof. My mom's making birria today. I don't know if you folks have had birria, but that's what we're having for dinner. All right.
What is birria?
Birria?
Uh-huh.
It's I think, and anyone correct me if I'm wrong, because I believe it's a Mexican dish. My family's Salvadorian, but I think traditionally it's made with like goat meat. Um, but I know I've had it with beef. Yeah, and I think that's what my mom's doing it today, but I think it's usually goat. Let's go ahead and sit on our left hand. So we're gonna sit on our left hand. Right hand comes over, and then the weight of your elbow stretches that. So we do this so this shoulder stays fixed and we get a nice stretch. So yeah, I think it's just marinated goat, and it's um I want to say it's probably the most, at least for the um parties when I go to weddings, parties, birthday parties. It's usually one of the most common Mexican dishes that I see at those events. Um, so if you ever go to like a party and you see like there's like a marinated like protein, like with your Mexican bean and rice and some cilantro and onions. It's usually birria. If you've gone to a party like that, switch. So
That sounds really good.
it is. It's and my mom loves cooking with lots of oil too. So so yeah. So I think I usually have to be a little bit mindful um of that. Sometimes she'll make me my own dish, but I don't like switching her recipes up too much because her food's really good. So whenever I eat like that, or I know that I'm expecting a higher calorie dinner, then I try to be really disciplined throughout the morning or lunch. Especially since she says she's probably gonna make quesadillas out of them too. So yes, you should feel that nice stretch. So next one with both hands behind the top back of your head, and then the weight of your elbows, allow that to pull forward. And reset. Okay. All right. Next, we're gonna go neck circles. So we're just here, and neck is just gonna come around. Make sure your head is making contact with part of your torso, either your shoulders, your upper back, or your chest at all times. So that chin should be making contact with the top part of your chest. Yeah, so we had homemade chili on Saturday, and then on Sunday was green pozole. Switch. And then yesterday was leftovers, which I was totally fine with. And then today will be birria. Cause yeah, cause I'll be on the road soon, so oh, that feels great. All right, let's go ahead and work on our shoulders. So we're gonna spend some time on our shoulders. So let's bring that arm up here in the L shape, and just drop that forearm down. And I like keeping my hand here just so I know and feel the part of the shoulder that's actually working. And you'll notice that by that area tensing up a bit, or sometimes just flaring up and fatiguing. So again, just dropping that forearm down. Reset, switch arms. So one of my college friends lives in Tucson, and I think he might have gotten a house recently. And I'm super proud of him because he was very quiet kid, never really socialized too much with others. And I think he just got married, so I'm very happy for him for getting there. But he's a big, he still runs a lot. And for his age, he's really fast. So if there's any local races in Tucson, my friend, yeah, you might see him out there. All right. Oh, yeah, that could get a little tiresome. We're gonna do some shoulder circles. And just drop your shoulders here, and then just shoulders forward, down, back, up. Now let's go in reverse. Ooh. Very good. All right. Oh, I'll stay on this side. So we're gonna work a little bit on our upper back and shoulders. So we're gonna make a fist here by clenching our hands together. So we're gonna do this here. We're gonna head goes down. Once we're down, we're gonna punch out with our fist a little bit further. You should feel that on your upper back. Okay, so we're here, head down, punch, and then come back, down, punch, and back. Three more. Two more. Last one. Very good. All right. We're gonna go with an Arnold press. So Arnold press motion here. So we start with our elbows here. We go wide and then push and then close. So a reminder, next week we won't be meeting. So no classes on Thanksgiving week. We'll see you back. Would that be December already? I think so. That's crazy. So I'll see you in December, I guess after today. How is it December already? Then relax. All right. Working our way down, we're going to work on our biceps. So just hands come out and just opposite shoulder tap. Yeah. And then, yeah, good thing. So yesterday I got an email asking instructors that I think this last week was the last time you could enroll individuals into the upcoming spring semester because the deadline to roll over an entire class happened 2 weeks ago, but I guess it was for individuals is this Friday. So now we're gonna go ahead and reverse your palms here. And then we're gonna come up and then press down. So this is more on your triceps, okay? So yeah, I noticed that one of my classes hadn't rolled over, and good thing I emailed her, and I was like, hey, 3 out of my 4 classes are successfully rolled over, but one hasn't. And I asked her what's going on, and she's like, hey, good thing you messaged me, otherwise it would have stayed like that. There's some oversight sometimes with lots of classes, so yeah, I'm glad you responded. So yeah, we should be good with all 4 classes if you got rolled over into next semester. And those begin January 13th, I believe. Okay, and then a little bit more shoulder work. So just openers here. So we did, now this time we're gonna go out. So first when we're here, we're going in. So this time we're gonna try to go out, okay? So you're gonna feel that tension on the outside. So keep your elbow at your side. Yeah, Jan, you're a good teacher. Yeah, so elbow at your side. So you start here and then you push that fist out. Okay. And if you feel like it's getting a little bit easier, it's probably because your elbow's separating from your side. Maybe we're going here, but you want to be tucked in. Let's switch. Does anyone have any fun or different Thanksgiving traditions or dishes at their families you want to share?
My tradition is eating.
That's not different, Carmen. We're all thinking that you don't have a Puerto Rican dish.
No, I don't have anything. I just eat.
Just eat. Awesome.
But normally the turkey,
Okay.
Yes.
Let's work on our form a little bit. Okay, so let's allow our wrist to go past our knee. So it should overhang a little bit. So we're gonna add a little bit of pressure with our opposite hand pushing down while this hand is trying to push up. You're gonna feel tension on your forearm. So let's go ahead and let's do maybe 5 holds of 3 seconds. Let's go ahead. So 1, 2, 3, relax. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. No, I think I mentioned yesterday, we just start early. I think we start at around 2:30 or 3, and then around 6 o'clock, we start with our second round. For some of us, let's switch hands. So again, just push down, add tension for about 3 seconds.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah, it's it's good food. Definitely the second plate is a lot smaller and it's maybe a third of the table comes back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think most people are working on desserts. I think that initial plate's big enough. Go ahead, and then we're just gonna do little wrist circles. Nothing too aggressive, especially if we're dealing with arthritis or any joint pain. You want to be careful. We don't want to do anything that causes pain.
I saw a recipe for cheesy cauliflower casserole
Yeah.
that I'm going to try this year.
Okay, nice.
You know, as a vegetable, it's kind of like having macaroni and cheese with a vegetable.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I did let's go now, wrist in. I did a green bean casserole once, and I think when I've usually taken that plate to wherever I go, it's usually a hit.
Yeah.
But this one year I had roommates and they saw me making it and they just thought it was like let's go ahead and work on one hand individually. So we're gonna bring each finger to the center of our palm without bending the knuckles. So yeah, so my roommate saw me making it, and they're like, "What are you making? Like, it looks like a science project." And I'm like, "Oh, it's green bean casserole," and they were not liking how it looked, and then they didn't like how it looked at the end. But those two were the only ones not eating it at the event we went to, and everyone else was, raving about it, like, "Oh, like, how hard is it to make this?" Like, it's actually really easy. And yeah, so it was a big hit, but my roommates were just being stubborn about it. They're like, "Oh, like you should see him making it." I'm like, it's just any other recipe, but it just looked a little messier. Let's do a knuckle each time. So now we're bending the knuckles. Each finger, we're bending individually to the center of our hand.
They're probably picky eaters,
I
right?
think it was the cream of mushroom, I think, threw them off. Yeah, I think that's what it was. Like they were, I don't know if they were expecting me to make some cream of mushroom from, from the ground up, but yeah, I just used the Campbell's. And let's make a fist and open. So separate your fingers. So we're working on the tendons in between each finger. So yeah, but I mean, it's if I have the ingredients, like, it's green beans, um, you know, cream of mushroom, um, cheese, and you have your little onions up top, and that's it.
Yeah.
And yeah,
My daughter puts sour cream.
yeah, I was like, there's nothing to be afraid of. Let's work on our other hand.
My daughter puts sour cream in it too.
Oh yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds good. So let's do each finger without bending the knuckles. We're gonna start working on our legs after this.
Paused.
So each finger. Okay, let's go ahead and then do each finger individually while bending the knuckles. Again, if anything is irritating or causing pain, then we want to skip those movements. We don't have to, everyone's body's a little different, so we don't have to do everything the same. Let's wet out the fingers away from each other. So again, just working on the little tendons. One of my runners was asking me yesterday about how there's a lift that he does that causes pain, but he wants to be able to do it. And I was like, hey, there's thousands of different exercises out there. You don't have to commit to one of them, especially one that causes pain. I was like, just, if it never gets better and it always sets you back, I was like, just don't do it anymore. There's so many other movements you can do. Um, so hopefully he listens. Pretty stubborn teenager. So let's go ahead and work on our hips now. So we're gonna bring our knee and bring that out. Okay. That goes out. If you feel like that leg is dropping down, then just add your hand here and prevent it from moving. So you should have close to a 90-degree angle here. Let's switch. Go right knee forward. All right. See you later, Terry. Happy Thanksgiving. So leg comes down. So again, just apply a little bit of pressure there. Reset. So we're gonna move on to our piriformis stretch. So your right ankle is gonna go on that left knee. So you might need a little bit of help from your hands to get it up there. Hopefully we could do that. So we're just gonna sit here, help stretch the piriformis muscle. more good sciatic nerve. Um, came across some more information on the sciatic nerve. So continues to run down your leg, kind of almost opens up around your feet too. So if you feel like this stretch doesn't quite do it, if you have some back issues or pain, what you could do too is make sure that the joints around your feet are mobile and they're not too rigid. So you also want to work on mobility on that foot. So because there's a little bit of tightness on that nerve down here, then yeah, that could solve that problem. Let's add a little bit of down pressure on that knee. So you could just do it by leaning on it slightly or adding a little bit of pressure, pushing down. Now we're gonna go ahead and bring that knee and just hug it. So you see my ankle still there, but I'm just gonna grab that knee. If we can do it quite here, then at least maybe here, but we just want to stretch it out a little bit more. These static stretches, we just want to hold for about 20 seconds before we switch. So let's do the left ankle on that right knee. Add a little bit of pressure, push down on that left knee. Bring that knee closer to you. And relax. All right. We're gonna stretch out our hamstrings a little bit before we start with our chair squats, which is another great balance movement. So for this one, usually like sitting towards the front of my chair, recline back, bring my right knee close to my chest as I can, hold it with my hands here, and then just extend that lower leg. Just do about 8 to 10 of these. Whew. Glitch. Okay, next, I'm gonna do a single leg extension with this leg. So I'm gonna bring that in and then out, and then kind of cycle it back in and push. So kick. So most of the actual benefits are happening right here on this area. There's not some nice extension going on in that knee joint, but this movement by our hip we don't do very often, so this is the main benefit. Okay, now we're gonna reset, try the other leg. So kick, cycle through. All right, here we go with our chair squats. So give yourself plenty of room. You want to sit near the front of the chair. So again, we're gonna go with 3 rounds of 8. Okay, 3 rounds of 8. So the first initial one is just gonna be our regular squats. If we're confident enough to do our single legs, then that's when we'll do for the next 2 sets. But otherwise, you could stay with the all of them being the singles or the regular squats here. So without using your hands, stab your heels into the ground. Feel tension running through your shins and try not to rock yourself forward. So it should be a lot of strength coming from your glutes and your quads. So just come up and then be careful coming back down. Okay. So we're not using our hands to push off. Your hands are, just assume your arms are gone. And do that full extension. So again, this is super important to be able to do in case you have, a hurt arm, if there's no support around you. This is what we want to do. So let's take a little 30-second break. So for the next one, we're going to go with single leg. So the way we do that is you extend the opposing leg further from you. The further it is from you, the more challenging it's going to be. The closer it is to you, the easier it's going to be. So if what we just did seemed pretty challenging already, what I would recommend is just stick with those. But if you want to challenge yourself, maybe just slide your foot, maybe 6 inches ahead of you, or a foot, or maybe even a full extension. And if you're a pro, which some of you are, that leg could be elevated and you could come up. Okay. But if we're not there yet, then just work with that. So, all right. So let's do our right leg elevated or extended. So go ahead and begin. So come up. Again, if that's challenging, then just extend it a little bit. So what I'm doing here, if you see, I have my right heel right where my left toe is at. Okay, so if that makes sense. So right here I'm regular position, but now I'm sliding my right heel about 6 inches in front of where it used to be. Okay, and if that's not working, then we could just go back to our regular squats, okay? So we could do those and we'll work our way up. So yeah, it took me maybe several months to go from extended to elevated, because that's a lot of pressure on that left leg. So give me 2 more and then we're going to switch. And like I mentioned earlier, if you had a previous injury, that could influence one leg or the other. Okay. All right. So left leg extended or just regular squats. So let's go ahead and begin our 3rd set. Right. Yeah. So probably one of the most challenging movements we do in this class. So it is still considered a squat, but we'll master it. So right before we start getting back on our feet, let's just do a tibial lateral rotation. So just gonna elevate my right leg, and I'm gonna try to rotate my my right ankle towards the outside. Okay, so not too much movement going on. So your leg is elevated, and you just try to swing it out away from you. Okay, so you can see my leg moving a few inches. And that's all the movement we need, because you're going to feel it right here on your side. We're not going to rotate that leg up here It's just gonna be a couple inches, if that at all. If we can rotate, that might mean that we have some tightness going on in that area of our hip. So let's switch to our left leg. So again, my leg is just elevated about an inch off the ground. I'm rotating. If you see my foot comes out to the left. We'll get there. All right, let's relax. Elevate your right foot and let's just trace the letters of the alphabet, okay? So just some ankle mobility. So just from your A all the way to Z. You could do in cursive, you could do sign language, whatever you want. So once you get to Z, you could switch your foot. And this is one of those stretches or strengthening for your ankles that you could do in the car, you could do on while you're watching TV, at the dentist, anywhere really. Okay. Other than that, let's go ahead and grab our broomstick, our pole, and we're just gonna work on our shoulders and we should be good for today. All right. Jan, what's the joke, Jan? I missed it. Looks like you're having fun over there.
The dog had a reaction. He wiped his eye, each eye.
Oh,
Put up and it's
he's
doing his
stretching.
letters.
He was doing the letters.
Oh, the letters. That's awesome. All right, so yeah, as mentioned, grab your foam roller. You could have a stick, an umbrella. I've used a fishing rod before. It could be any type of long item. So, okay. And we'll finish off with this here. All right. Very good. So right here and just left to right. Yep, it could be a cane, it could be, anything that's rigid. I wouldn't go with the towel because you are needing to push with your opposite leg, your opposite arm. So we're gonna focus on the left arm right now, or left shoulder. So my left arm is going up and is being guided by the push of my right hand, if that makes sense. So I'm just pushing, and that left arm that comes high is getting a nice stretch. So yeah, so we just want to focus on one side right now. So just focusing on that left shoulder. Let's come 30 degrees forward now. So now we're here, 30 degrees. And we work in all these aspects because your shoulder has a lot of range for mobility. So if you just use your arms forward and sideways, then it's very likely that's the only mobility you're gonna have, but just want to keep them active. Let's go 60 degrees, so a little bit more further forward. And again, your left arm is just relaxed, but your right hand is what's pushing it. Now 90 degrees, so right in front of you. Okay, now towards the back. So I'm gonna come here, and now my left arm is down here, and I'm bringing it back. If that makes sense. Just going behind me. Okay, relax a little bit. Okay, so just stretch, make sure your shoulders aren't aching. So now my right arm is going to be coming up and my left arm is pushing my foam roller to guide me. Okay, here we go. So right side. Okay, 30 degrees. So slightly forward. All right, 60. $90, right in front of you. Okay, now towards the back. Okay, so we're coming back. Okay, now this one's different. So this one's gonna go behind the back. So right here. Okay, and I'm gonna go up. Okay, and very last one, we're just gonna lift back. Alrighty. And that should do it for today. All right. How are you feeling? Feeling good?
Yes. You didn't take any water breaks.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Did, but I didn't see you drink any.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, I drank initially when my lips were on fire. But yeah,
Oh.
hopefully drink as much water as you want. My bad. I should have remembered. How's everyone doing?
I just did it on my own.
Good.
I had a question.
Yes,
I put in the Q&A and did you see that?
I did not. Let me see.
So that was with the balance. Are you recommending that we not wear our shoes when we do the balance
So
exercise?
it depends. So that's a good question. So yeah, I just saw that. That's a new feature on Zoom, so I didn't see that appear. So I might be biased because I'm very flat-footed. So if anything, the flatness of my feet might help me with my balance because there's more surface area. Now, if you're dealing with plantar fasciitis or you have some heel pain, even ingrown toenail could affect the way you step or pressure. So it's just use your best judgment. What I wouldn't recommend is doing it on a slippery like carpet, on maybe if you're wearing socks on like a hardwood floor where there could be some slipping, something like that, or even a yoga mat that's a little bit too soft, because then your foot's gonna be uneven. So that's why I like using just barefoot because I feel like I have the most grip, but everyone's a little bit different. But on the book, it just said like just use shoes all the time for balance exercises. But again, it's also assuming that you have good shoes all the time. And I've asked around, and some of you replace your shoes twice a year, which is great. Some of you, maybe not some of you, but I've had some people tell me that they've replaced their walking shoes about every 5 to 8 years. And I'm just like,
my-
My natural shoes are over
50 years, 60 years old, and they still work fine.
Which ones?
Oh, my natural ones.
Oh, your natural ones, yeah.
And
Yes,
I do all my exercises barefoot inside the house.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
when I'm
Even
inside the house, I don't wear any shoes.
I have some lifting shoes, and my lifting shoes are completely flat. I don't work out with my running shoes because running shoes, they're usually used for walking as well. But running shoes sometimes have a little like cradle, which helps you propel forward. Now, if you're using those to lift and you're trying to have a nice stable position, guess what? That cradle is probably going to rock you forward a little bit. So you probably don't want to use your walking shoes to lift. You might want to have your specific like a specific shoe to work out when it comes to walking. And if they're old enough, not sure if you've noticed that maybe you step on the outside of your shoe a little bit more, or if you happen to pronate, that's when your ankles kind of collapse inward when you step. When that happens, usually there's more wear on the inside of the shoe. And if you have very old shoes, you could test them out and put them flat on a table. And if they roll out on their own, they're not even. And that's very common. Yeah. So, and you could tell too by looking at the bottom of your shoes, you usually see like little grooves and figures or shapes. If you look down and it's very smooth, you're about to, go slip somewhere. I've had it happen so many times here at practice where it's raining like it has, and there's a metal grate on the sidewalk, and they just stand or slip on that, and they're out for a week or two because they hurt themselves. So, yeah, pay attention to that, especially with wet weather. So, but yeah,
I recommend if anyone has problem with feet or shoes to go to the podiatrist.
Yeah. Yep. So you might have some custom made orthotics, and then you might need those orthotics for most shoes that you wear.
Well, the podiatrist will look at each foot and tell you if there is any disease or, medical thing.
Yeah.
Not the other just feeding the orthopedic.
Right. Yeah,
No.
yeah. Yeah, you don't want to go to like your pharmacy and just grab some gel, Dr. Scholl's from like the counter. Like that could maybe make your feet feel nice for like 2 days, and then it's gonna go away. So
Anyway, have a nice Thanksgiving,
yes,
everybody.
you.
You
I'll see you all.
Thank you.
All right, Jen,
Thank
enjoy your
you.
trip. Drive safe. Everyone, don't eat too much turkey. All right, I'll see you in 2 weeks.
See you all next week.
Bye-bye.
In 2 weeks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Yep.